Hello! Another assembly, 2 metres away, but that might be changing soon. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. But anyway, so we're going to look at morals and ethics again today because it's so important, it's so prevalent, which means always, everywhere at the moment in the media, everywhere we're seeing about people standing up for what they believe in. And last time around, that's what I asked you. I asked you, what would you strongly believe in? And also, what would you fight for? And morally, who would you stand up for and who would you stand up against? And I gave you some examples from my own personal life about my brother and my sister and people like that who have stood up for what they believe in. And it's things about your human rights, and it's about sort of the equality between men and women, the equality in gay rights, and about that equality in sort of black and white, and it not being a thing anymore. And this is what we're going to look at, this issue of diversity. And I want to take us back to what's been going on recently. Now, this has been in the news and the press everywhere, very close to where we are in Frome, about how the statue of Edward Colston in Bristol was dragged down and then dumped into the harbour because of what Edward Colston stood for back and how he made his money, which was through the slave trade. And whether or not, what do you think about it? Is it right? Is it wrong? Should it have been done that way? Today they've just recently dragged it out of the harbour, they're going to put it in a museum. Is that the right or wrong way of approaching this sort of really tricky subject? Well, it's happening in our lives, it's happening in our community. And moving on from that, you think about people in the media. We looked last time about people taking a knee. Athletes and sports stars. And how the NFL, the National Football League in America, have just put their hands up and said, actually, we should have been letting our players take a knee when they didn't 2 or 3 years ago. And now they've recognised their mistake. Someone like Will Smith, about how he said in an interview a couple of years ago about how racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting filmed. Because actually now it's everywhere. It was always happening, and this inequality is always going on, but now it's everywhere. Now we're seeing it more because of the prevalence of media. But we think back to the 50s and 60s in America, and about the protests, it's something called the Civil Rights Movement. And this struggle for social justice that black people in America were going through, and that was 100 years after slavery had been abolished in America. 100 years on, and they were still striving for social justice. And it just doesn't seem right. And this is what people are saying now. This just isn't right. And we knew it wasn't right, but now we're standing up for it. People like Billie Eilish, who's only 18, understand and put her hand up and said, look, this isn't right. This shouldn't be happening. We're not saying other lives don't matter. We're saying that every life matters. It's a really, really important issue. Some like, even people of our own community at Oakfield, Hugo in Year 5, have put together a really fantastic PowerPoint on black history, and I know we're going to try and get that on the website as well, just so we can share the really important message that we're trying to get across. And BAME, which is Black, Asian and Minority Ethics, in the UK, we're still suffering from that idea of inequality, and people are standing up, as we've seen recently, to ensure that we understand their point of view and how we highlight this really important issue in the media. And that's what we want you guys to do. We want you guys to be part of that. Because it's important, because you're the future of the community. Think about Marian Anderson. She was a classical American singer. And she was denied the chance to sing at Harvard University, which is a huge university in Boston, Massachusetts in America. And she was denied the chance to sing there for 30 years because she was black. And in the end, the huge swell of support meant they could not deny her the chance anymore. And then 75,000 people populated the courtyard to listen to her sing. There's that show of support. And that idea of no matter how big a nation is, it is no stronger than its weakest people, is quite important, because we do not want people to think that it's okay for inequality, and especially for racism, to be a thing in our society, especially not in an HIC like the United Kingdom. And there's another story that Mrs. Cross told me earlier on about how Ella Fitzgerald, and Marilyn Monroe said that she would sit in the front row of all of Ella Fitzgerald's performances just to encourage people to go. Little stories like that are important, and actually we should be sort of sharing with each other. And how can you help? Well, you challenge, and you should be challenging that idea of banter. I must admit, personally, I hate that word. Between friends and peers, and even family members. We need to challenge that. We need to stand up to it. And we need to report things we've seen online and things we're hearing as inappropriate to people at school, to people you trust, to the authorities. That needs to happen, because That's the way we educate ourselves and we educate people in our families and in our lives, so it doesn't happen. We're also going to have a PSHE lesson on Monday on diversity for Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3, and that will have a lot of information on about what's been going on recently. So we are looking at historical events, but we're looking at current events as well, so we can all support each other in this quite tricky but very important issue. So, moving forward to look at Oakfield, this is the 43rd school day where it's been a bit different. That's a long time, but we've all coped really well, I think. We've all done really well, and it's testament to us as a community and the pride we take in each other. You have seen recently, and your parents will have seen recently, the Department of Education and the scrapped school plans of how we were coming back and we're not coming back. Well, do you know what? We're always going to be here to continue to support you guys in your learning and in everything else. So you do not need to worry about that. We're always going to be around. And under what guise and how that looks might be a bit different, but it'll always be Oakfield Academy, and we'll always be here to support. And our key worker and our additional Year 6 pupils are becoming these ambassadors for adaptation at the moment. It is a bit of a change here in terms of how it looks, but the message and the ethos is still the same. We're still doing learning, we're still taking part in it, we're still being active, showing ambition, showing pride, using those core concepts. You've seen in the newsletter, we've had some renovations on the playground. It looks fantastic. We can't wait for you to see them. They're really good. Which leads us to our home learning offer. We said last week about how we would like to engage with 3 to 4 hours and to structure itself around your timetable in your journal maybe, to help you with that idea. Now, there is time to send your learning back, and that's brilliant. And this week we've had a huge increase in the amount of learning being sent back, which meant teachers can look and can give that timely feedback and that really good next step feedback to you guys. So it means you can actually begin to deepen your knowledge of a subject. We've also begun to pilot something called Google Classroom. Because as you know, you've all got email addresses, and we'll go on to that in a minute. We're piloting it, which means we're trialling it with a couple of classes, because we think this could be a really good next step in the teaching and learning at Oakfield. Now, we were always going to do this, but not until next year, so we've just moved it forward a little bit. But what we want to do is to balance your time. You don't have to be stuck in front of a screen the whole time. The little lesson offer isn't always a virtual offer online, okay? There are lots of things you could be doing away from a screen, okay? And mainly I'll think about things like the PE workouts from Mr. Walker. Okay, they're fantastic. I mean, the backdrop's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, come on, look at that one. Look at that one. I'm not expecting you to go down to the beach or get yourself somewhere that looks like across the sort of Glastonbury levels, but wow, pretty good. But on top of that, we've got all that beautiful artwork and music work and performing arts that's on there as well. It doesn't require you to be stuck in front of a screen. Balance your time. Sometimes you will have to be in front of it, but balance your time. The cooking, the cook-alongs with Mrs. Nightingale. And we see in the newsletter people sharing all the things they've cooked and baked, and it's fantastic. So enjoy do that, because, these email addresses are here for you to share your learning, and as it evolves and as this offer develops, we hope you'll share with us more, we'll share back with you. This is how you get onto your emails. If you're still struggling with that, pause it here, look in the newsletter, this is how you do it, okay? And we're here to support that as well. And at home, this is the sort of things you've been sharing with us, some beautiful sort of story works and some really, really lovely artwork being made and created for us. Examples of how hard you've been working, which is great. That's what we want to see. We've also had lots and lots of Infinity nominations. Mrs. Cross is having to write out all these and send them home, which is absolutely brilliant. Piles and piles, okay? So well done to Maya, Lily, Arthur and Sam. It's great to see you displaying your core concepts in and outside of school, so well done. So, messages from staff. We have Mr. Goff, again, he said that the closing date for the Seek, Act and Bright Ideas competition is the 19th, so get that in. If you don't know what that is, go on the Science Little Lesson site. Miss Parsons, again, Oakfield's Got Talent. The deadline has been extended to the 19th of June. Get onto the Performing Arts part of the website as well, because there will also be some new videos uploaded from the Performing Arts team with some instructions on how to support you in your learning. We also have a message from Miss Stewart. She's really loving seeing the Year 8 artwork linked to the GCSE transitions, so keep that coming in. She's really enjoying it. She's being able to feed back to all you on it as well, so keep that going. And for Mrs. Royden, the castle competition for Year 7, the closing date has now been extended to the end of June, so have a little look on the history little lessons page to support you there. Now, no matter what happens over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be here, like I said, to support you as Oakfield Academy, because we're a community. Anything you need, we'll try our best to make sure we can make it happen. But everyone stay safe at home or online, and we'll see you all really soon. Bye.